This is Jason with Chicago News, and we've got the brand new 2018 BMW X3 30i. This may just look like a facelifted version, but this is actually all new for this year. Every time we get in this BMW, it says, "Welcome, Peter Delaplane." I'm not sure who Peter is, and I'd really like to have a chat with him, because if he chose this car, I have some questions for him.
Hey, Peter.
Hey, man. Hola, cha-cha, hi.
Knowing that it has all that extra space on the inside, you could forgive a little bit on the design side, but we still think that this looks a little bit boring, especially for a brand new redesign. Let's see if it's a little more exciting from behind the wheel. So the very first question I have for Peter is, why did he choose this 2-liter turbo engine instead of the bigger 6-cylinder? You can get up to 31 miles per gallon combined. We haven't quite seen that good, but it will get over 30 on the highway, which is pretty impressive in this class. What's not impressive though is when you put your foot down. Now, it is just fast enough to kind of be interesting, and it definitely has a little bit of turbo lag. When that turbo kicks in, it's quite good, but it often, when you put your foot down, it doesn't really have anything right away. There definitely are some competitors in this mid-size SUV crossover class that are much more exciting to drive. This being a brand new model, you'd expect for all the technology to be on point, and while there's some things in here that are absolutely fantastic, for example, the parking system that we're going to show you in a minute, there are some missing things here that definitely make us scratch our head. First and foremost, it's an option to add Apple CarPlay, but this car only connects to Apple CarPlay. It does not have Android Auto. And again, this day and age, you can get a Civic that has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So the fact that you have to pay extra and only end up with one of the systems, it's kind of a drag. The other thing about this particular implementation of the Apple CarPlay is that you have to connect through Wi-Fi. But if you've got your phone connected to Wi-Fi, how are you going to make and receive calls unless you have a dual band connection on your phone? So it can run into problems depending on what phone you have. This iDrive system, again, when it first came out, was much maligned. It's much better now, but you still have this center track wheel, which can be a little bit unwieldy to go through all of the different menus. But what you have now is an actual touchscreen as well. You know, previous models would only have the center wheel, so it's actually a lot easier to use now that you have the touchscreen option. You've also got a drive mode selector here in the center. You can go for Sport, Sport Plus, Comfort, Eco Pro, lots of different modes. There isn't a big difference between all of them until you get to Sport Plus. You click the transmission into the sport mode, and then this thing really kind of wakes up. It keeps it in a lower gear all the time, lets you rev higher in each gear. It's a pretty good sport mode, and it does eliminate some of that turbo lag that we had talked about. I guess I just kind of fundamentally have a problem with a BMW with a 4-cylinder. I mean, that is respectable acceleration, but a BMW, to me, they've had 6 cylinders for so long, you just kind of miss that 6-cylinder smoothness and that extra power. There's a decent suite of safety features, but what's really missing here, especially at this price point, is lane assist. Again, it's got lane alert, it'll vibrate the steering wheel, but it kind of waits till you're all the way out of the lane to start vibrating. It doesn't seem like it's really helping much at that point. So there's a fine line between it, and maybe you can change the sensitivity, but the point being, for nearly $60,000, we'd like to see actual lane assist. One system that does work really well is the blind spot monitor. Not only does it notify you if somebody's right in your blind spot, if somebody's coming up really fast, it's looking further behind. And then if you put your signal on, the light on the mirror will be flashing, but it'll also vibrate the steering wheel to remind you. So again, it's kind of odd to have some safety features be so good and other ones be missing. Another thing missing, which is a head scratcher at this price point, is any kind of radar cruise control. So just regular cruise. Again, for this price, and this has a lot of the technology options anyway, it's really missing. There's obviously a driver assist package I'm sure that you can get with this, but again, for $60,000 almost, we kind of would want that. One thing that never really disappoints in a BMW is the interior. Here, again, we've got a really beautiful interior. These seats, these are the sport seats. They've got adjustable thigh bolsters, adjustable side bolsters, really nice stitching pattern, great materials. There's something you come to expect from a BMW. Got some great wood inserts, nice aluminum trim, just a very nice looking interior. One thing I do question though is there's X badging and X3 badging everywhere in here. It's almost like they're worried that you're gonna forget what you're driving, so they're reminding you everywhere. It seems a little bit unnecessary. Looking at the option list for our test car, there's this wireless charging port, which is definitely very convenient, but when you look at the price of the option, it's a $500 option just to add this charging port. You know, that just seems a little excessive. Certainly understand charging for an option, but it can't really cost $500. You've got a 12-volt power outlet right in the center here, but we notice we use a splitter to power several devices, and we notice when we do that, one of the devices shows it's not getting enough power. It's really the first car that you've ever had that happen. It's just kind of odd that you'd have a low-powered outlet. There's no real reason for that. Another problem we had that we haven't really had with any other car is this thing can actually bite you. We had a passenger with their arm up on the door sill, and the door lock actually grabbed their arm and pinched it and left a mark.
They got the shooter.
The instrument cluster in this BMW is a mixture of analog dials and digital displays. You've actually got, the needles are LCDs, but the actual units are actually painted right on. And it's kind of odd though, because part of the display is LCD. It's kind of odd, and it doesn't really seem very configurable. We honestly haven't had quite enough time with this car to learn every feature. I'd like to see this more easily customizable. If you have an LCD there, you might as well utilize that flexibility. One thing that's definitely a hit in this X3 is the Harman Kardon audio system. It's like an $800-something option. I would absolutely check that box if you're ordering one of these. It sounds fantastic. Definitely great clarity, great soundstage, great volume as well. It's one of the better ones we've seen. Hello, BMW.
BMW Assist. Say a menu option.
Why are you talking to me like that?
Say a menu option.
Customer support.
Customer support.
Wait, end. No, wait, I don't want to do that. Stop. Nope. End. No. I'm stuck in here now.
And a representative will be with you shortly.
No, I don't want this anymore.
To expedite your call, please have the last 7 of your VIN or
Hang up. One of the best features in this X3 is this incredible camera setup. You can see the lines that kind of tell you where you're going, but what's really impressive is this display. You see these markers telling you how close you are. But what gets really incredible is if you click on this, you've got access to all these different camera views or a full 360 view. And we don't even know how they do this, but this thing will go all the way around the car and it'll show you how close you are to everything and give you a really good idea of what's coming up. So you can actually utilize this to help you park. It's a really fantastic system. I can tell you this, without question, there is an executive at BMW that really struggles with parking, and they gave the engineers a task to make the best parking camera system you can possibly make. Guess what? They succeeded. The only question I have is why is it a 7 Series on here? They couldn't have been bothered to change the car to the actual car we're driving. Or maybe they want everybody to think they have a 7 Series. One issue we did have with this parking system is when we very first picked the car up, I went to go back up into a parking spot and the braking took over and tried to stop the car. And there was no way other than just forcing it against the brakes the whole time the car was trying to stop to get it into the parking spot. There should be a way to override that and make it a little bit easier. We're on a narrow street, there are people waiting, and caused a big problem. It didn't really rear its head again, but that was the first impression that we got. You know, I complain about this 2-liter engine, but it really does do a decent job of pulling this around. I think it's just a mental block I have where a BMW should have a 6-cylinder engine. Another great technology feature here is this heads-up display. It's bright, clear. gives you tons of information, tells you the current speed limit, turns the speed red if you're speeding. In addition to just the speed information it projects up there, you can configure it different ways, and it actually, if you've got the nav working, it gives you your navigation displays, gives you track information as you're changing tracks on the audio, so lots of great information on this heads-up display. It's one of those underappreciated safety features. Basically, if you're not looking at the road, it's definitely much less safe, and the heads-up display lets you keep your eyes where they should be. One thing there's no shortage of in here, like we talked about, is space. For an SUV or a crossover of this size, you've got a ton of rear seat space and a ton of cargo space. Again, may not be the sleekest design, but it's definitely usable. One thing you want in a vehicle like this is ease of loading in the rear, and you've got a foot wave option. You just wave your foot under the bumper. We've had systems that didn't always work. This one, every time, pops the gate open. Then you've got a button inside to close it or lock it. It's definitely a perfected system. One thing that is missing as far as loading cargo in the back, which is a feature that started with BMW station wagons, is being able to open just the glass part of the hatch if you want to load something quickly in there. We definitely were expecting that feature to be here, having seen it on different BMWs before. Kind of missed that. One cool fun feature on the interior is you can set the lighting up any way you like. You can not only choose different colors, but you can split it and have white light at the top and then a different color down below. Again, it's not really a convenience feature, it's just nice to have to be able to set it up the way you want it. Another thing BMW has had dialed for quite some time, it kind of started with their wagons as well, is this panoramic roof. You've got two panels. It's a giant roof that lets lotted light in, especially into the back seat, which is very nice. Also vents both panels, and you can open the front panel. It's very versatile and usable, but certainly just nice to have all that light being let in. So overall, I'm kind of torn about this X3. There's certainly some things to like about it. You've got this 2-liter turbocharged engine, which is capable, but feels like it falls just a little bit short, and definitely has an entry-level feel to it for not an entry-level price. With so many great competitors in the class, we feel like this just doesn't quite tick enough boxes to be a contender. Maybe it would be with the 3-liter 6-cylinder turbo, but this is not exactly the ultimate driving machine.